Mazda CX-5, a car that both myself and my colleague really like because it's just nice. It's lovely to look at, it's nice to drive, it's very pleasant. And now we have this one with a 2.5-liter atmospheric, naturally aspirated engine, which is quite interesting for a car of this size. But there's another detail here that's pretty interesting. You can find it at the front and inside the car. Even though the exterior of the CX-5 is now quite a few years old and has seen various facelifts, it's still a very good-looking vehicle. Some 10, even 20 years ago, at least over here in Europe, it was a bit unheard of if you were buying a larger car like the CX-5, an SUV, or even a crossover with a gas engine. And not just a gas engine, but a larger than a 2-liter gas engine like in this Mazda, this 2.5-liter. But, you know, the fuel prices were just too high for something like that. It would have too high of a fuel consumption. But now that the fuel prices are even higher, we see more and more gas engines because, well, apparently diesels are bad. Anyway, but that's beside the point. I'm saying this because, well, it's still a bit strange to me that I'm driving a CX-5 with a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter gas engine. And we have to get the elephant out of the room immediately, the fuel consumption. The fuel consumption, you have to expect it. Right now it's 7.9 liters per 100 kilometers, and that's driving normally. Not extremely eco, not extremely sporty, but there was quite a bit of motorway driving at 130 kilometers per hour, which has an instant fuel consumption of around 8 liters. So if you do a lot of highway driving, yeah, maybe a gas engine is not the best option, but you know, nowadays it's kind of difficult to even get a diesel option. If we ignore the fuel prices and the fuel consumption, though, if you can afford that, for example, then there's not a lot to complain about this engine. Sure, it is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine without a turbo, so naturally aspirated. It does not have the torque of a diesel engine. It will never have the torque of a diesel engine, so that's something you do miss. So despite the large volume, it's sometimes doesn't feel like it's as punchy as you would expect it to be. However, you do have a large RPM range, up to 6,500 RPM, and otherwise it is very civilized and quite lovely to drive with this engine. So I really only have two complaints about this engine and transmission. One is that, yes, it's not as much torque as you would want, even though I do have to say, from a standstill, because this one has all-wheel drive, it is quite perky. It is lively if you floor it. It's quite surprising, actually, for a gas engine. The other nitpick I would have is this automatic transmission. Most of the time it's fine, but sometimes it shifts a little rough when you don't expect it, and it's gonna jump or do whatever. So not really sure what's going on there. It's not a big deal, really. This is just comparing it to everything else. It's very nicely done and high quality. Sometimes it's a little bit jarring. So let's say you would have an option of this 2.5-liter gas engine or a 2.2 turbo diesel that Mazda used to offer in a lot of models. Well, some models. What would I choose? Well, it depends on your driving style. If you would be driving on short routes, then yeah, probably a atmospheric or naturally aspirated gas engine is the better option, because you won't have any troubles with the turbo, you won't have troubles with the diesel PDF, and so on and so forth. If you were driving on long distance more often, then I would definitely go for the diesel, because you'll have lower fuel consumption, It'll be more effortless because of the torque, and yeah, I mean, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but at the same time you're going to have a lower fuel consumption. In the end, this is not to say that this engine is bad. It's actually a really nice engine. It sounds pretty nice as well if you floor it. I'm just not sure it makes complete sense in a car like this for us with high fuel prices. If you can afford that, fine. It's actually a lovely engine. But I'd still probably rather have it diesel in a larger car like this.
The base CX-5 with a 2.5-liter engine starts at 43,000 euros, while the fully equipped model with all-wheel drive costs just under 48,000 euros.